It's beautiful, and that's in a sense why therapy really is an art. It's both the pragmatic application, but also the aesthetics. It's the art of therapy.
It feels like we're just moving and moving. I feel like we've really looked at this, and now we're really just running with it.
Yes, we've
Yeah.
come quite a way in
Yeah.
what seems like a very short space of time.
Yes, it really feels short.
Yes.
Yes. Well, just looking at the previous episode, so really started to have a look at the importance of understanding a specific approach, and but also then with as when we trained as a psychotherapist, how sometimes we want to stick with one approach and just go with it, but also coming to the realization that's not that one shoe doesn't fit all. One approach won't fit every client. So having a look at how to work with clients, and that how meaningful therapy can be for clients, but also sometimes how someone can't benefit from a specific therapeutic stance, or sometimes how it can be anti-therapeutic, and having a look at how to bring these together, but in a way that's concise and really working in a different way. So I know the last time we said that, okay, so we have a bit of an understanding that we can put them together. But the question is how? How do we do that?
All right, so now you're putting me on the spot. Okay, it's when we look at the how, and part of what we're exploring is in this series, and what this is about is the how of effective therapy. So I think this is such an important question. Having established the importance of understanding different frames of reference for the therapist, different approaches, and clarifying that therapy can be profoundly beneficial, but the same approach for everyone, no, it either may not help or may even be unhelpful or anti-therapeutic. And we really want to shift the odds and assist as many people as we can meaningfully by having a varied number of approaches that we can utilize. But again, how does one do this? So this brings me to one really key development, which is really not simply an interactional approach, but an integrative interactional approach. Because what we've been exploring together is a person-centered approach is a profound one in any helping relationship, especially psychotherapy, forming that trusted relationship where it's focusing on the client and their best interests, their experience, and very much creating that space where there's no judgment. The communication is very congruent, so it can be trustworthy, and there's a deep understanding expressed towards the client, how the client can become more of who they are and self-actualize. And that's a profound basis for psychotherapy. Added to that, we've looked at the communication model, what that tells us about communication, the communication as a unit, the communication value, how we have effects, impacts. We can't not communicate. That's a profound understanding and development. And then how that led to the systems and understanding circular causality and looking at wholes, and wholes being of a different logical order to parts, and a special focus on the interactional approach and what that means for psychopathology, and working not only circularly, but looking at the interpsychic approach and how that makes psychopathology something that's visible and trained to the observer. I mean, this is phenomenal.
It really is.
So we have covered a lot of ground very quickly.
Mm.
But it's now, one can immediately see the value in each of these approaches. But how does one put them together? And this is where one application of this is the integrative-interactional approach, where in this approach, we utilize some of the thinking of systems. And systems says that we've got a whole that's on one logical order, and we've got parts. And so in therapy and with our different approaches, we've got the parts make up different therapeutic approaches. But then how does it come together? What sort of whole does it form? Now, look, we're going to need more time for that. But the point is, there is a way to bring these together in an integrative way. And so, in an integrative approach, an integrative interactional approach, what we will look at is our starting point is going to be that we're working person-centeredly, that we are creating a particular therapeutic relationship where someone can become more of who they are and self-actualize through known qualities of the interaction or the relationship that we'll facilitate. The second part of the integrative interactional is understanding that all behavior is communication. We cannot not communicate, and effects and impacts can be very different from what we intend. And so the complexity of human communication, how quickly they can go off track, and how we can communicate more effectively. Uh, and that, so the second part of the integrative interactional approach is the communication model. And then the third part is the systems approach, general system theory, but a very special application of it, the interactional emphasis. So not only the qualities of circularity, but also looking into psychically and how that makes psychopathology more visible. So in the integrative interactional model, these three are integrated.
Yeah, it sounds so simple and yet so complex when you talk about it. And I just, as you were talking, I was just thinking back about all of the different episodes that we looked at and all of the detail that we looked at all of them, and then bringing them all together and how they become an integrative interactional approach, and how you use all three of them together.
Yes,
Mm,
that
mm,
is what's so valuable here, because as you bring them together, you are no longer limited to just the frame of reference of one theoretical approach. When you bring them together, you've got a whole, you've got an emerging quality here that is a different kind of lens. So you're always working in this approach, working integrative interaction, you're always working person-centeredly. And you are understanding that you have a client and their behavior is meaningful, it's purposeful. They're trying to self-actualize. And what do they need? They need a very special kind of relationship in order to experience themselves unconditionally, understand their potential, become more of who they are, and increasingly generalize that in other relationships in their system, their primary system, their family. So we're looking at and understanding the therapeutic relationship in that way. At the same time, we're understanding that we're communicating. We have a sender and receiver. We're having intention and effect. How can we bring these closer? Intention, effect. We're having impact. And how are we relating in our communication as a unit? At the same time, we're also understanding that this communication and the intention, well, let's look specifically at the effects or impacts. Now, effects and impacts, where I'm relating to you, it's relating to me, it's relating, in turn, this goes round and round. So each time, of course, I will experience it that I react to you, is reacting to me, is reacting to you. This is circular. And we're looking at this at the level of the behavior. And what does that tell us about what we're experiencing some difficulty with? What kind of challenge is the client having? And is there something about how we're interacting here and now, and the way we're communicating within the nature and quality of this very special person-centered relationship where someone is becoming more visible, the client is becoming more of who they are? Does that tell us something about what they may be struggling with and what they need help with?
yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And the way you describe it is that all three of them are all together, always being person-centered or being person-centered, but understanding the communication and how they communicate with each other, and adding the systems of, and with the special emphasis of the interactional approach, everything that's visible. It just they fit absolutely beautifully together, and you use all three of them in an integrative way. And with that, and under I think one of the previous episodes we talked about how you become, with the person-centered, you become a broomstick in a dance, and how when a person relates, you can understand them, and maybe how in something in how they relate, with adding the communication and understanding the interactional approach, how maybe that can form part of whatever difficulty they present with, and looking at how to assist a client then with that. So it's again, it takes me back to M1 training with you, and with Charles Foster as well, and just how absolutely beautiful these three just fit together in an integrative way.
It's beautiful. And that's in a sense why therapy really is an art. It's both the pragmatic application, but also the aesthetics. It's the art of therapy.
It really is an art with this. Yes. Mm. So the next question, and maybe that we can pause for the next one, is how will this assist a psychotherapist in their therapy process? So really going to the detail of how will that help a psychotherapist?
All right, sure. Big question.
Big question.
I look forward to exploring that.